Welcome back again to Spotlight, where we feature the University of Central Arkansas's College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences. I'm Donna Lampkin-Stevens. I'm joined today by Dean Tom Williams. And Tom, you've been on here several times, and we've talked about, as the college was beginning to form, and then COVID hit. And it sort of seems like we're at a restart.
I think it's a good way to look at it, Donna, that we have people on campus, and when we have people on campus, they have time to explore. And probably more than any college, not to criticize or fault the other ones, we're the places which exploration is not only validated, but it can result in any number of things, whether they be major or minor, or just a discovery of the various things that we have on campus that belong to the college.
Yeah. So I think even though who could have dreamed we'd start a new college and then have a once in a millennia pandemic?
Yes.
So despite all of that, I mean, we had 1 year where we were mostly away, and then but what can you say were some really good markers of the first year or two?
Oh, I think a big part of it was the resilience of the faculty. That there were people I can recall in the days of March 2020 when there were some faculty who had never used a laptop before, who had never taught anything online. And the fact that they were able to do that so quickly and with such aplomb, I guess, is a real testament to the professionalism and the intellectual heft of the faculty. And if you'll recall, one of the things that I think we forget in the haste to kind of move to the good times of 2022 is that during the summer of 2021, we were all kind of hoping to kind of have the reset then, where it would be mask-free, and we didn't have that. I mean, we had some variants, and that kind of frightened people, and as they should have been, and the CDC was still recommending wearing masks and keeping distance, and classroom spaces were ones in which you might have 4 or 5 people in class and 9 or 10 in on asynchronous Zoom. And so through all that, they managed, our faculty in every program, every department, still managed to provide a more than quality education and met with students where they are, whether that was via Zoom, whether that was over the phone, whether that was through a host of emails. And here they are today, ready to begin in a time a little bit more to their liking. And despite all the kind of, oh man, I mean, I would just imagine just like the fatigue and the kind of feelings of just sort of that, when is this going to get better, to snap back and be ready for fall in the way they are. It's just remarkable.
Well, there was a real energy when in August when everything everybody was excited.
Right.
New kids back, old kids back,
right,
who had never really even had a normal semester.
I'm really thinking a lot about those. I believe it's the seniors or the juniors or seniors, who were the students who, in the second semester of their freshman year, things went black, essentially. They were escorted off campus. They had to do everything on Zoom, and nothing was the same ever since. And now they're back, and it's almost as if it's their first time. And I mean, it's about resilience, and it's about the students who've managed to stay through this, our majors and majors in other departments and the other colleges. It's just, when I see them, I just kind of want to say, you have made it through a remarkable time. Don't let that go, because that energy and that momentum and that just real strength, I mean, they'll they'll call upon it again
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
point in time,
Yeah.
but use it as it is right now. It's really remarkable to see.
So let's remind everybody, we have 10 departments, well, 9 departments in one school.
That's right.
And so do you want to rattle them off? Or?
Well, let's see if I can do it. I'll go alphabetically so I won't mess it up. It is, of course, we start with art and design, which again, in the kind of the status of the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, always change. You know, we're just always sort of never standing still. Interior design came into art last year, so art and design, and then the Department of English, then film, theater, and creative writing, then history, then languages, linguistics, literatures, and cultures. Of course, the Department of Music, philosophy and religion, political science, sociology, criminology, and anthropology, and of course, the School of Communication.
And that sounds like more than 10 departments.
I tell people this year, it started to kind of like really dawn on me that it's not, I mean, people say, wow, you have 10 units, that's a lot in the college. It's like, well, you know, let's look at music, which has performance, music education, music history, you know, the School of Communication, which is 2 extraordinarily large units with principles of communication and first-year writing, along with writing, I'm going to get it wrong, writing, rhetoric, and information design,
A
which
newly christened name.
renamed, you know, new name, but the same kind of exceptional faculty and classes and students. These are multi-programmatic, multidisciplinary units that really have an, I would just say, I mean, there's departments like film, theater, and creative writing, which, I mean, they're in how many buildings?
Yeah.
And it's, I would say that before we kind of point out all the kind of make this sound like it's disarray, I think that we're starting to see a great deal of unity as we get people together as a college. Because one thing I ask people is to think about how long it took for the culture of, say, the College of, the former College of Fine Arts and Communication to take hold, and the College of Liberal Arts to take hold. So as we move forward as CAHSS, it's one in which that we might move in many different directions, and we might have a center that doesn't hold, but you know, we still might have a lot of interesting ways in which we practice being a college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so looking, now that we're starting sort of afresh, tell me what you're excited about.
Well, I'm really excited about, you know, how we have some of these, like I said, art and design, the renamed writing, rhetoric, information design, or that we've got some changes that had a little bit of challenges and sort of taking hold last year, and now we've got new ones, and it just seems as though we had a very challenging. This doesn't really matter to students so much, but you know, we used to have BAs and BSs in just about everything. Well, now we've got that cleaned up for the most part. There's a few departments that have a BA and BS, and I think that what that's going to do is it's going to make things a little bit simpler. People are going to have fewer choices, and I think fewer choices is actually going to be better for them. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about seeing how we can continue to foster collaboration between departments. And probably the thing that I would be really remiss in not mentioning is that I'm extraordinarily excited about the opening of the Wingate Center because what I have been trying to emphasize to everybody, faculty, students, friends of the university, is that when that building came into imagination, came from imagination into fruition, it was a part of the College of Fine Arts and Communication. Well, now it is, as it is being, going up at a kind of speed that most of us really can't understand. It belongs to the College of Arts, Humanities, and Social Sciences, and that's really that's not just a kind of branding. It's genuine, and so I think everybody should see that, and I can't wait for the time when it is fully operable and we see students in and out of there and we have performances there and we realize other things to use with that space. I'm not one to use hyperbole, but Wingate's really a once-in-a-lifetime sort of building, and all of us should be really cheered and energized by its completion.
So, do you give us a little more of the timeline now? The word has been that we would get the keys in November?
November. I think that's still very likely. And I think that there will be classes, music classes, theater classes, and art classes in spring.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
But then there will be this 18 months of grand opening events.
Performances, music, theater, and art. And one thing that's happening in the spring, and I'll only mention this a little bit because I want Dean Seymour to give the real intricate strokes of this, is that one of our artists in residence, Fabiola Jean-Louis, is going to be using it as part of her studio space. So,
great. I haven't been in it. I mean, I've walked around it, since it's been under construction.
Right.
But when were you in it last?
I was just in it briefly in July, and I say this: it had a lot of uneven spaces, and I'm not one yet to sort of handle uneven spaces. And the stairs were very vertiginous. I dare not get on the stairs, but just looking at it, it's unlike any building I've ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, now we will go over there and do a show, do a spotlight from there after it's open.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So then move in over the winter break.
Okay. Moving starting probably right after finals and maybe even before finals. I'm hopeful.
And so art and design is moving over.
Yep.
All of them.
Not all of them. Mostly what are called the dirty arts. People who would do things like sculpture and ceramics, and I think the graphic design is people, but interior design is going to remain in Macalester, which itself, Macalester, has an opportunity for a refresh soon as well, too.
All of these new buildings have that domino effect, and lots of new imaginings that can happen.
That's right. That's right.
So what will become? So some of music will move in.
Some of music.
Okay. Will that open in some of theater?
Yeah, I think mostly just the folks working in the costume shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that will open up some spaces in Snow Fine Arts, which has been forever.
Right.
So, okay.
Yeah, which is due a refresh.
Yes.
Well, I'm not sure how that how that will manifest, but Snow will get. Snow is slated to receive some rehab. Yeah.
Okay. And what about the Schiestel building? Is that?
So Schiestel,
which is where the dirty arts have been.
Right.
Okay.
Schiestel will. The last I heard, and so I don't want to be.
Because we don't control this.
This is beyond our control. Right. Last I heard, Honors would move in after some refresh, and also Center for Global Engagement as well, which is right across the hall from me right now.
Yeah. So I know that the old CFAC, because we had been longing for this building for years. I mean, ever since I got here in 1999, and probably before that.
Wow.
So how do you bring the new our new colleagues in to embrace it as CFAC did?
Well, I think that the first thing is that we need to recognize that there are so many natural connections between the humanities and the arts. And so a perfect example would be this, that we have a musician come, and or we have some plays, and some of the plays are classics, and we have somebody from the history department or the English department, give a lecture about that prior, not prior right to the performance, but
Sure.
The day of that performance. And we just try to find those kind of natural connections. And I'm hoping that there might be some team teaching opportunities as well, maybe in the future. And the other thing is that whenever a department has a wants to use some of the reception space that
and there's quite a lot of that.
There is in the sort of gallery space, and we just want to get people in there. And I think the other thing, one of the things that dazzles me every time I look at the renderings is there's this thing called the art alley between the offices of the art faculty and Wingate proper. And it's done so for the practical reason of they don't want some of those chemicals and things in the Performing Arts Center. But in all the renderings you see people, drawings of people walking through there. And I mean, I don't get to have an office over there. I tell people that all the time. Some people think I get to move over there, but I don't. But I intend to spend a lot of time in the art alley, just being there, and I hope to talk to students in a way that's beneficial to them. But I think that's going to be a place to really build community. Because a lot of buildings, and I know that this is not by anybody's fault or anybody's design, but some of the buildings that were built, say, in the last century, they don't have a lot of communal space, and that's always disappointing because it would be so much nicer for students to gather in a communal space to talk about projects and work rather than on the floors of a building that doesn't have like a kind of communal space. So I think people are going to have to be imaginative, but that's whom we are.
Yeah.
These are the people that we have, and see how the space can operate in their daily and professional and educational lives.
And I'm thinking of a lot of, in the School of Communication, we've embraced the theme of connection, collaboration, community.
I love that.
And so I think we can do the same thing. Really the genesis of the School of Comm was the same as the college. This was something that really sort of got thrown at us, and then we've embraced it, and so we've moved on. I know that one of my colleagues, Rob Moritz, is proposing an artist in residence about some sort of, it's a journalist who has worked on this crime database. So I said, let's reach out to sociology, criminology, anthropology, and see if we could get some overlap there.
That's great.
So,
that's wonderful.
Are you seeing some other kinds of collaborations in those ways?
Well, last year's was we had just an extraordinary one with Duncan McKinnon brought a Caddo ceramicist, Chase Earls. Duncan is an anthropologist, but it was a collaboration with the art and design department, and Chase using traditional Caddo techniques produced on campus using I forget exactly, but a dug kiln, a pit, to fire it. And we were able to. It's now in our possession, that work of art, and I mean that's just like the perfect model, and it's just really reaching out to your colleagues, reaching out to your peers who would probably just be overjoyed to hear from somebody else and to work with somebody in a different discipline and start to see things of your own discipline in different ways.
Yeah, yeah. So what challenges have we overcome besides the pandemic?
What challenges? I think I'll be honest, I think that's still an ongoing story. I think that, one of the biggest challenges is for everybody to feel as though this is a college with an identity that is inclusive and not exclusive. As I said before, it's 10 units overall, and within those units there are multi-programs within. So we haven't had what you would ordinarily have, which is a lot of instances in which people gather and meet and start to talk to their peers from other disciplines.
And that's because of,
Yeah.
of the current
Right.
situations, yes.
And I think that
Yeah.
this is the time in which we need to find more. And thanks to Associate Dean Paige Rose, she has cooked up a lot of events. We've got this one thing that we want to have going on called 10 After, 10 After 6, 10 referring to the 10 units, and then which will invite people from different disciplines to talk about different departments to talk about various themes and things.
That's once a month?
Yeah, once a month.
Okay.
But that's what we got to do. We got to get to know each other, see each other, and it's a little bit of a paradox, of course, I think, from a leadership position. I know the Spotlight folk might not care to hear too much about this, but how to generate an identity that does not feel too much like it is coming from the leadership, like you must collaborate, but it is felt from everybody, that they feel as though that they have a part in shaping it and designing it. And sort of navigating that sort of paradox, I think, is the biggest challenge that I have and the leadership has. Because, faculty, in many ways, I wonder for students and faculty, how big a deal is this? When I was an undergraduate, I was in a big college, arts, humanities, I think, but it never occurred to me, what was happening in the in music or anything. But that's not the situation that we have here for faculty, and I think for students too. And I think that we want to make things as open as possible, that we're trying to hear from everybody. I'm trying to hear from everybody, and at the same time trying to take those suggestions, those ideas, those concerns, those complaints, and give shape to them in a way that people feel as though they have a contribution.
So we have Fairfax Days coming up.
Yes.
Those the first one I think is coming up on Saturday.
Right.
So how do you find the students who find us?
Yeah.
There's such a varied lot, and they
Absolutely.
and they love to find their place and their people.
Absolutely. And I have started to say that ours is a college of opportunity and wonder.
Yeah.
That opportunities are things like internships, study abroad, study away, service learning, undergraduate research, all the things, especially in School of Comm, that you all do. That's the opportunity, but the wonder is just think about, what all these departments comprise and the kind of breadth that they possess. I was one of those students who knew day one what he was going to major in and never changed one bit of it. But the students who know that they have something in mind, that they just can't kind of like put the words to it. are not, they know that they're not somebody who wants to major in business. Not that there's anything wrong with majoring in business. They know that they don't want to teach. They know that they don't want to, be an CNSM or CHBS, but they don't quite. It's almost as if they have an idea, but they just can't put the words to it. And we're the place that supply a variety of ways of seeing that idea and making that idea manifest. And when you think about what we do in terms of events, in terms of encouraging students to do study abroad, study away, present at conferences, we make it possible for those students to kind of really find themselves as well as find, what they want to major in. And I think those students are kind of bread and butter, and even the students who come to Bearfax Day, who say like they've decided, or they've picked one of these majors. You see them looking around and sort of like looking at the other tables to think like, well, I kind of want to do all that, and that's some of them too. They want to do everything. And we supply as close as you can get to that as well.
Yeah, I know in the dean's office you don't see the students as closely as faculty.
No.
Faculty does, but do you have students come around? I mean, have you seen them at the fruition of their search? Have you been able to talk to some of them about?
That's a good. I joke that most of the students I see are either angry about something or or I'm seeing them at events like, outstanding student events. And some of those students that who've knocked about a little bit, who didn't, arrive with a major in mind, and, it took them a couple of AMAPs to figure out whom they are and what they wanted to do. I think that they really profit from what we offer, and when I talk to those students, it just feels as though that having all these units under one sort of college name, it does seem to warrant what we're doing, and that's always a good feeling.
Well, I've given tours, when students come in, and I tell them, this is your chance to explore. You may have been at a small high school that didn't have live theater, so this is so take advantage of every opportunity that you get.
I mean, we think about our students, and our students generally come from a radius around Little Rock, really. And it's mostly, students are about maybe 2.5, 3 hours away from Conway. But then you think about the towns and from which they're hailing, Dardanelle and Alma and Stuttgart's a little bit bigger, but it's a small place. But Deschutes and places like that, Hughes, Elaine. I mean, these are towns in which, live theater might not have been possible. Talking with an artist. I mean, last year, we had an opera singer, Cecilia Lopez, and she told her story. She told this very captivating and compelling story about how she came to be, an opera singer. And afterward, a student came up to her who was a computer science major, and he said, "Wow, that was just really important for me to hear that somebody could have a dream like this and it come true." And I don't think he's going to go join the music department, but maybe just the way that somebody else could confirm their dream, that just helped him out. And I mean, that's the joy. That's the reason why I think most of us entertain the idea of joining the academy, coming to a place like UCA, is that probably along the way somebody helped us out in that
Yeah.
manner, and we are sort of always responsible for continuing to provide such keys to the kingdom.
Yeah. And I know that parents sometimes are the you know,
Yes.
they think they're the voice of reason.
Right.
What do you tell parents when they think, well, I'd rather my kid go get a business degree and become an accountant or something like that? I mean, it's a little
It's a rough
soul crushing.
It's a rough conversation, but I understand that parents, because I'm a parent, I understand, you know, that most parents have in mind not to to mash their student into a certain mold, but they're protective, they're concerned, and also, you know, they view this as rightly as, you know, an investment, and they want to make sure that it has the best opportunity for a positive outcome. And I say to them that chances are that the student that majors in any one of our disciplines, will emerge with all the skills needed for the job that they think is the kind of safe, and the parent thinks is the kind of safe position. They'll be extraordinary communicators, both verbally and through writing. They'll be great teammates. They'll be leaders. They'll be great researchers. They'll be critical thinkers, and all of those things are the kind of talents and skills that that they'll need along the way. And that I will assure them that one of the things that we will do is that we will not just be a college that that only promotes exploration, but it's also one that, you know, does, you know, promotes things like internships and has students go to job fairs and does everything possible to make sure that that in addition to these explorations, there's going to be a significant role played in professional preparation.
I just love it. I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. You know, I mean, you got the Baum Art Gallery, a hidden treasure on campus. You know,
Reynolds. Yeah.
We've got, you know, I mean, I think so much about the work that's done by the Center for Writing and Communication. I mean, that's not that's an area in, you know, your building, but that's an area frequented by every students of all stripes. And in a way, that's kind of the work that we do, is supply, you know, just like everything that happens through the arts fee, that's for everybody.
Well, Tom, we'll come back and talk more later, and maybe you'll give us a tour of Wingate.
I'll look forward to I might not be the best person for that, but I might be the person who goes on the tour with you.
Okay,
Yeah.
deal.
Good. All right.
Join us again next time for Spotlight.